What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Debate Maze. I am Matthew, and I am here joined today by Nathan Poplin. And it's good to be
What's
back
up,
here on the
guys?
Debate Maze. It's been a bit of a break, but now we got the playoffs in full swing, so there's no better time to jump back on the bandwagon. Make sure you like this video, comment, share, and subscribe, and send it to your friends and send it to your family.
Yeah.
We got a lot of fun content coming up, and on Instagram, we're going to be doing some what comes next for the teams that have been eliminated in both the Eastern and Western Conference. So you got to follow us on Instagram as well for all of that. Now, without further ado, the second round of the playoffs started, what was it, Saturday, I think, with Brooklyn and
I believe it
Milwaukee.
was Saturday, yeah.
Um, so, Nate, let's just get into predictions. What series do you want to start with? We can start in the West since they haven't started it, or do you want to go in the East?
We can go ahead and start with Brooklyn and Milwaukee, to be honest. I enjoyed the game thoroughly. It was a good game. Of course, we know Brooklyn took it. A lot of people and analysts have been predicting
Wait 1 second,
Milwaukee
Nate.
to
I'm
win
going to
this
turn up the
game.
volume on my
I
computer.
completely disagree. Okay.
That's up now.
All right, it was good. All right, yeah, I completely disagree. I think Nets are gonna. I think Nets are going to win this pretty convincingly, 5 or 6 games. I think 6 games at the max. I don't really see this going to 7. I don't think they could stop the fire. Just like Boston, they may be more equipped to stop the firepower of the biggest trio, but I don't think they have enough. I don't think Giannis and Middleton and Drew Holiday are. I still don't think it's enough. Even though we know they're great defenders, I still don't think it's enough to stop KD, Harden, and Kyrie from all dropping 20, 30, 40 a night, however many they do, and then their cast of characters like Joe Harris. The Milwaukee Bucks are definitely better. They're a more put-together team. We saw that as they beat the Heat, something they didn't do last year. But I have Brooklyn winning in 6, 5 or 6.
I'm going to piggyback off of what you said and go Brooklyn in 6. And for the record, I did have that as my prediction before game one. But I'm telling you, this has huge playoff implications further down the line. If Brooklyn is able to take them down without James Harden, then the championship is Brooklyn's for sure. I think this is Brooklyn's biggest obstacle in the playoffs. I think this is the NBA Finals. I think whoever wins this will be the NBA champion. And Brooklyn had a pretty convincing game one. KD was awesome. Blake Griffin was awesome. A lot of great hustle plays. 2 plays I could think of where he caused jump balls just by diving on the floor. Hit timely 3-pointers against Brook Lopez. Really, with his quickness exposed Lopez on the perimeter because Lopez couldn't close out to him, and Blake made him pay a couple times, which was a pleasant surprise. And then obviously, they're so deep. You got Shamet coming in off the bench, who didn't have a great game, but can at least eat minutes. Mike James played really well for them, who started out as just a 10-day contract guy overseas.
Claxton's been a stud. I really like
Claxton
Claxton.
played pretty well. And then for the Bucks, Middleton did not show up. I didn't think Giannis played great. Holiday was all right. But just not a great performance by any one Milwaukee Bucks player, really. Just kind of sleptwalked, I think, through that game. And then I do think game 2 might go to Milwaukee, though, because of that bad, stupid play at the end of game 1 where Blake Griffin stepped over Thanasis Antetokounmpo, who, of course, is brother of Milwaukee Bucks superstar 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so Giannis might come into game 2 with a little extra firepower.
Yeah.
So if he goes off for 40 to 50 points tonight, don't be surprised. But Brooklyn just has so much firepower. Of course, Harden is not playing in tonight's game 2. Who knows if he'll be back at all for this series or for the playoffs. But they're
I hope he'll be back.
Yeah, but I still think Brooklyn takes it in 6. And we were doing X factors for the last series, so I'll go ahead and give mine for this one. After game 1, I'm going to say Blake Griffin because he changed the course of the game in that first one.
X factors. I might choose a different approach, and I think I'm gonna go with a Bucks player that we were just talking about as an X factor in a way. And when I mean X factor, I don't if he's too inconsistent in these playoffs, the Bucks have no shot, and that's going to be Giannis's right hand man, Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton has had great performances in the playoffs, and he's had horrible ones and mediocre ones. He can't afford against this Brooklyn Nets team, even without James Harden. He cannot afford mediocre after mediocre performance. He needs to step up, and he needs to help Giannis and Drew Holiday out if they have any shot of even coming close to knocking out the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm taking the team I think that's going to lose. I think Chris Middleton is going to be the key to the Bucks' success if there is any success.
Fair enough. So let's stick with the Eastern Conference then. And real quick, Brooklyn had a great defensive game in that game one too.
Mm-hmm.
Something Miami didn't do very well in a game in their series against Milwaukee. So bit of a different look there for Milwaukee to start it off, which is why some of these guys had rough games. But on to the next series, the only other series that has started. We've got the Knicks and the Hawks. I mean, not the Knicks and the Hawks. The Hawks and the 76ers. 76ers lost game one in Philadelphia. Trae Young was awesome. Kevin Huerter saved the game with a full court pass, double teamed in the corner when they were up by 4 or something like that. The Hawks tried to choke the game away. They were up like 19 with 6 to go, I believe. But, Nate, what did you see from this Hawks team in the win, and what do you think the series will look like going forward?
I think what this game one proved to me from the Hawks is I honestly, in my mind, when I saw Hawks were playing Philly is like my top team. I honestly thought it was going to be a sweep, but the Hawks proved to me that I was incredibly stupid and incredibly wrong because these guys can play against the best of them. They are just a sharp shooting team out there. Trae Young, you got Kevin Huerter, and freaking Bogdan Bogdanovic, 15 points a game, has been playing outstanding in these playoffs so far. Hit that clutch 3 to basically ice the game against the Sixers. I still have the Sixers winning, but I have them winning in 6, and I think it's a much more competitive series. The fact of the matter is you just can't – the Hawks are going to beat you if from 3 and from midi and from shooting, period, if you don't guard. Philly's got to step up their game guarding. And also Ben Simmons needs to step up his game because, I mean, the fact that he's no threat from the perimeter is a problem because now the Hawks don't feel like they need to defend him out there, and they can switch their attention to some of their shooters, like Seth Curry and Danny Green, and you know what I mean? So I think Sixers are still going to pull it out because I have them in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think they're going to need to they're going to need to not underestimate the Hawks. I don't think they do anymore, hopefully. I think we all underestimated the Hawks in this series. I think the Sixers did as well. So they just need to come in with this mindset that this is a team that could potentially knock them out of the playoffs. So they need to play harder. They need to prepare better, and they need to be ready for this Hawks team. I think this is going to be a much more competitive and a much more fun series to watch than I previously thought.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going 76ers in 7, though. Just because, Trae Young has always been one of my least favorite players. I think everybody that's watched the debate mates knows that. But he's just been awesome in the playoffs. He's been outstanding to watch. Even when he's not hitting his threes, he's just getting into the paint, hitting floaters. He's not getting the same foul calls that he got in the regular season, and he's still super efficient finding open teammates. He's really proven a lot to me in these playoffs. And yeah, of course, he's not on Luka's level. That was the trade on draft night. But it's been a fair trade for the most part, I would say, because Trae Young fits that Atlanta style so well. And the Hawks front office has done an amazing job surrounding him with players that complement his game. John Collins, Clint Capella, Bogdan Bogdanovic, outstanding two-guard there for the Hawks.
Danilo Gallinari, too.
And then they just have long forwards because Trae Young is 6'2", 6'1". So you need a lot of taller guys around him to kind of hide him on defense, and they have an abundance of them. Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter were injured in the last game. They're both 6'7", 6'8" forwards. So they throw out 6'7" Kevin Huerter. They got 6'5" Bogdan Bogdanovic. Danilo Gallinari at like 6'8", 6'9". So they're just so deep, so much talent. And Lou Williams, just a steady force off the bench, as always. Not packing the scoring punch as he once did, but just a good calming presence for that team. And just a deep team poised to make this a 7-game series, I think. They got 2 more wins in them for sure, especially when they get back in the A, as Trae Young likes to say, or at least say to the Knicks fans. And my my X factor for this series if the Hawks are going to push it to 7, is going to be Bogdan Bogdanovic, because I think Ben Simmons will take the defensive assignment on Trae Young more in Game 2 than he did on Game 1, meaning Bogdan Bogdanovic will most likely be guarded by Danny Green and Seth Curry. And if he has one of those smaller guys on him, then I think he's going to have to go off. He's clutch. He's not afraid of the big moment. He's going to have to be awesome for them to make this a 7-game series, and I think he can do it.
My X factor personally is going to be Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid had a even though they lost, he had a monstrous performance. If him and Ben Simmons are on, the Hawks are going to have a hard time stopping that. I think he's the best player. To me, he's the best player in this series above Trae Young. You may disagree with me on that. I don't know. But at one point, Embiid was my front runner for most of the season, MVP candidate. But I mean, I don't really think they can stop Embiid all that much. I mean, sure, you have Clint Capella and you have Gallinari. You got good size on Embiid, but I still think Embiid is so elite that if he has 30 and 40-point games and like 15 plus rebounds like every game, I think the Hawks are going to have a really hard time beating this team. What were you saying?
I'm also interested to see, because Embiid does have that partial meniscus tear, if this series does go deep, like 6 to 7 games, does Embiid start to decline as we get towards the fourth quarter of a Game 6 or even a Game 5, Game 7, just from that constant wear and tear on the knee? Because I don't think the Hawks are coming back, or I mean the 76ers are coming back and ending this in 5. And I don't think the Hawks are winning in 4 or 5 either. I think this series is going to go long. If it does Embiid have the conditioning with that injury to be able to withstand constant hits from Capella and Collins and running up and down the court, dunking, all that sort of stuff? Or will his knee be a little too weak? Or will he be a little too tired from all that stuff? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, though.
It will be, and if God forbid, hopefully he doesn't go down one, but that's a big relief to the Hawks. That'll be the biggest blow the Sixers can take outside of him or Ben Simmons would be the biggest blow they could take. So, but yeah, I do think it's going to be a much more interesting competitive series than most people thought.
Now moving on to the West Coast, where the Lakers are not involved in the Western Conference semifinals. LeBron took his first ever first-round loss in the playoffs, which is –
And who called Suns winning?
Pretty exciting. And we're going to have Stretch on Friday, hopefully, to get into that a little bit more. Me and Nate are going to stick with these Eastern Conference teams when we do our looking ahead to the offseason for the teams that got eliminated. So if you want to hear what we got to say about Lakers, Dallas, Portland, and the 8 seed, the Memphis Grizzlies, make sure you follow us on Instagram, as I said earlier. But anyways, the 1 and the 4 matchup, the Jazz versus the Clippers. Nate, who you got?
See, this is a tough one. I had Clippers going as far as the finals, but as they barely got past the Mavericks. I mean, Mavericks are a great team.
They barely got past Luka Doncic. Allow me to correct you.
My mistake. # get Luka help. I was not happy to see how much they struggled. I figured they weren't going to sweep them or anything, but I didn't realize just how they got to this game 7-1 like by the skin of their teeth, honestly. So in my opinion, I think Utah wins this in 6. It's just Paul George needs to give me more. Kawhi is basically, we knew he was the guy, but he also can't do this alone. He needs more help. Some like Luke Kennard's been good for them. Everybody else has been solid, but they need to turn it up because this Utah Jazz team is loaded. And this team, if they're not careful, could end up beating them maybe I think they go to 6, but they could beat them in 5. I mean, you have freaking Gobert, Mitchell. Mike Conley's been playing insane. Good stuff from Mike Conley. Love Mike Conley. But yeah, I don't see a universe where this goes to 7. I do think the Utah Jazz are winning this series in 6. What about you?
I'm going to elaborate more in our Western Conference video, but allow me to say Luka Doncic is the best player in the NBA. In my opinion, I think in the playoffs, he has proven himself as the greatest player in the NBA at 22 years old. And this is coming from a Kevin Durant fan who you could definitely make an argument as KD is probably one of the two. Maybe Steph Curry is in the mix as well right now. I think a lot of people are kind of falling off the LeBron train. But Luka and KD are definitely top 2 in my opinion, and I might put Luka a hair above Kevin Durant. Anyways, moving on to this.
Interesting take. I don't hate it whatsoever. Interesting take, though.
Moving on to this series, though, the Jazz, aside from the Heat, Milwaukee probably had the best first-round series out of any team. When Donovan Mitchell came back, it was a sweep. Grizzlies got game one basically just off of momentum, having won against the Spurs and then the Warriors. Both close games at that, so the adrenaline was high. But speaking of adrenaline, the Clippers have a lot of that. Their antennas are up now. They basically they 4-1 Dallas after being down 2-0. If you take away those first two games, which I know you can't, then this is a pretty convincing Clippers win. So I think the Clippers looked pretty good in Game 6 and Game 7, especially in that third quarter. Reggie Jackson was huge. Kennard was huge. Patrick Beverley on the bench has been a great move by Ty Lue. Kawhi Leonard is who we thought he was last season in the playoffs. He looked like we overrated him. He looked like he wasn't made for the moment, but he took over Game 6 and Game 7. He was just incredible defensively, and of course on offense, we know what he can do. I think he'll take a lot of the defensive assignments against Donovan Mitchell. And
I hope so.
If he defends Luka the way he defended Luka, then Donovan Mitchell's going to be in a ton of trouble because Donovan Mitchell is not nearly the offensive player that Luka was. Luka is, and Luka was being tortured by Kawhi Leonard. So I think he can kind of neutralize the Jazz's best player. And then it's just a matter of the center matchups. We got Rudy Gobert going up against they went small, so maybe Batum. And if that is the matchup, I give the favor to the Clippers. I think the small ball will kill the Jazz because Gobert cannot guard on the perimeter. So I'm going Clippers in 6, actually. I think they make it to the Western Conference Finals.
Okay.
And my X factor is going to be Nicholas Batum. Him and Marcus Morris, they kind of play similar roles. I think they both start along with PG, Reggie Jackson, and Kawhi Leonard. They go small ball. And if they can just torture Gobert on the perimeter, if they can hit those threes, like Marcus Morris had 7 in Game 7, the Jazz will be in for a long series because that's what they do best, hit threes. And if Batum and Morris are knocking them down, Clippers are going to be looking pretty good.
I think this is just going to me, this is going to be the most fun series. This is going to be a very close, very fun, action-packed series. I don't know. I'm just going from what I saw at Utah and what I saw from the Clippers. I saw the weaknesses and I saw the pros. I predicted the Suns to beat out the Lakers simply because I just thought they were a better team, and that's why I've chosen Utah. Originally, I had my finals prediction actually as Clippers and Philly, but I don't think that may necessarily be the case anymore. So I don't know. I guess for Utah, the series, the X factor is going to be is going to have to be Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi Leonard, like you said, can stop Donovan Mitchell, then the Jazz may have a tough run. They do have. I love Mike Conley and I love Rudy Gobert, but Mitchell, aka D Wade 2.0 to some people, whether you believe that or not, is yes. So, but if Mitchell can somehow rise above Kawhi Leonard's defense, or if, God forbid, they don't even put Kawhi Leonard on him, which would be a stupid move, and I don't think it's going to happen since Tyronn Lue is a very good coach. But I take Utah in 6, and you take Clippers in 6, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Moving on to the next series, we got the Phoenix Suns versus the Denver Nuggets, a series that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. I think those are 2 upsets in a lot of people's minds. Because a lot of people had Dame Jokic, and a lot of people had LeBron coming out of the first round against Phoenix. So this is a kind of unlikely first round matchup, a fun one though, I think. Mm-hmm. So Nate, I'll start us off on this one. We got the Suns.
All right, go for it.
Like I said, and I'm gonna keep riding with the MVP Nikola Jokic. Give me Nuggets and give me Nuggets in 7. This is definitely going to be a close series. Chris Paul doesn't go out in 4 or 5 games. Not with Houston, not with the Clippers, and not with Phoenix, I don't think. Devin Booker has looked incredible. I saw a post on Instagram. The revolution is being televised. These young guys have come to play, and Devin Booker is one of them. DeAndre Ayton is really where I see the weakness. in Phoenix for the sole reason that he's going up against Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
And he's a solid defensive player, a good young player, but Jokic will just eat him alive in the paint. I think he'll probably get him into a lot of foul trouble. In that somber shuffle move, he's just got so many moves to go to that a young guy like Ayton will not be able to handle, I don't think. And Facu Campazzo, he was my X factor in the first series. He played pretty well, but Michael Porter Jr., incredible too. Monte Morris off the bench, 28 points, and I think Game 5, that was the shootout with Damian Lillard when he had 55 on 12 three-pointers. So Denver is, even without Murray, they're still loaded with talent, and it all starts with Jokic, and I think he'll carry them into the conference finals as well. That's not to say Phoenix is a bad team, because I think a lot of people have kind of thought that coming into the playoffs because they just don't have the star power that most teams have, and they do it by committee. But they're just not on Denver's level, I don't think.
See, I'm going to completely disagree with you. I have Suns winning this. I'm sticking with my Suns. I had them winning this one. I had them winning the first round. I think I see them in the Western Conference Finals. I think you mentioned Jokic. Sure, yeah, Ayton is not going to be able to handle Jokic, but I do think, in my opinion, you may disagree, Ayton is already better right now currently than Nurkic or Enes Kanter. I think I'm not saying he will be able to contain Jokic. I think he'll have a better go at it, and I think he's been playing really good. But yeah, that Chris Paul and Devin Booker tandem. I think it's going to end up. I think it's going to end up taking Denver. I have this going to 7. I think it's going to be one of probably the most competitive series. And you're right. This would be a completely different story if Jamal Murray. Could you imagine if Jamal Murray was actually on this team right now? This team would be, I think, my favorite to make it to the finals. But since he's not, this team is still very good. But I have the Suns just nudging them out, just like I had them just nudging out the Lakers. So yeah. Suns in 7.
That's a fair prediction for sure. So in the conference finals, then we agree Nets versus 76ers, but we disagree. I think it'll be Clippers Nuggets. You think it'll be Jazz versus Suns. So either way, it'll be an exciting conference final.
Completely different in the Western Conference.
So,
oh my God, yeah, and
go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just excited. I mean, it's nice. I always like it. I don't mean to knock on teams, but the Heat, who are in the finals, are not in this now. And both the teams that were in the finals were first round exits. I don't know. I don't know about you. I'm just a big fan. Sure, repeats are nice and everything, like 2 or 3 rings in a row. But I love to see some fresh teams in there. And a bunch of these teams have never made the finals. A couple of these teams have never made the finals. So it'd be awesome to see like the Suns make the finals or the Nuggets make the finals. I don't know. I'm just really excited about these series and what our finals and Eastern Conference Finals and what our actual finals matchups are.
Yeah,
so,
it'll be
it's
great.
It's going to be a great playoffs. Already has been.
These small market teams will really be on display, which I think is great for the NBA because there are still a lot of superstars left in the playoffs, even though LeBron and Curry might be out. Still got Giannis, KD, Joker, Booker, Kawhi.
Yeah.
I mean, Trae Young, Embiid. We're still talking like a bunch of top 10, 15 players left in the playoffs, even though they are on small market teams. So it's going to be a really fun watch down the stretch as the playoffs come to a close. I'm really looking forward to it.
100%, yeah.
So I think we can call it there. We got our predictions locked and loaded. Hopefully I'm right, but I guess we won't see for a couple another weeks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, make sure to follow us on Instagram to see our what comes next for these Eastern and Western Conference teams that have been eliminated. See you next time on Debate Mates.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.